We begin by looking at the idea of numeration. What do we mean when we talk about numbers and numbering things? In the earliest times, we conjecture that people might have used things like tally sticks. Every time, for example, if you're doing a census, every time a person passes through your census line, you put a tally down, and you just keep tallying. Now, maybe when you tally, you'll put a stick crossways to indicate groups of 5, because of course we have 5 fingers. That would be a fairly natural thing to do. Each stick represents a finger, and we can continue tallying until everybody's counted. That's one way we could number things. Now, this system has a disadvantage. What if you have a very large population? It's going to take you a while to put down all the tally sticks, and once you do, you're probably going to end up grouping these tally sticks in some way. Maybe groups of 5 in groups of 5, or maybe groups of 10 in groups of 10. Maybe 10 groups of 10 would be one group, and you would continue grouping like that. So that maybe every time you get a group of 5, you'll put a mark down here. And maybe what you'll do is you'll wait until you have 5 groups of 5 and then 5 more. And you call that some other number. You might use a symbol to designate. This would indicate 5 groups, 5 tallies in each group, or maybe you just have 2 groups with 5 tallies in each group. But the idea of grouping these things when you get into large numbers becomes fairly natural. If you have small numbers, 30 or less, let's say, you can pretty much tell by looking at the tally sticks how many you have. If you have row upon row upon row of tally sticks, it might be difficult to get an idea of exactly what your number is. Now, a slight improvement, or a significant improvement actually, in the tally sticks is the Egyptian system. And let's zoom in just a little bit more so we can see what we have here. Okay, instead of a tally stick, we'll just use a stroke. And of course, this is something that could be written on papyrus, whatever they happen to be using at the time. So one of these, one individual or one unit would be indicated by a stroke. A heel bone would indicate what we would call 10 units. So 1 unit would be a stroke, 10 units would be the heel bone, which is just kind of drawn like this. 10 units, 10 heel bones then would be a scroll, a number that we would call 100. I don't think really know what the ancient Egyptians called these things, but we do see what we believe they represent. Okay, the lotus flower would represent 10 groups of 100 or 1,000. The pointing finger would indicate 10 groups of 1,000 or 10,000. This fish would indicate 10 units of 10,000 each, or 100,000. In other words, the fish would be equivalent to 10 pointing fingers. And the astonished person would stand for 1,000,000, which is a pretty large number for ancient Egypt. Now, if we want to write a number, well, let's say we write a number, 2 pointing fingers and 3 scrolls, 5 heel bones, and 3 tally marks. What number would that represent? Well, this would represent 2 groups each of 10,000, so that these 2 would represent 20,000 in our system. 3 scrolls would be 300. 5 heel bones would be 50, and 3 tally sticks would be 3. So we have 20,353 corresponding to this number. Now again, you see a definite progression here. We go from just simple tally to some idea that the tallies might have been grouped, to the idea of using symbols on a piece of paper to stand for the different groupings. And this system that the Egyptians used was indeed a base 10 system. We have the 10 fingers. I don't know if you can see all 10, but I've got 10. So that each new symbol represents 10 of the previous symbol. And of course this has a lot in common with our present system in the West.